Ferrari. I mean, just say the name, and what do you think of? You probably think of those screaming V12 engines, right? That incredible Italian design and a history of just dominating the racetrack. But, as the whole world goes electric, this icon of the gas engine is staring down its biggest challenge ever. This is really a story of tradition versus a total transformation.
So that's really the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? It's on the minds of every investor, every car nut out there. Can the very thing that makes a Ferrari, that roaring engine, be swapped out for a silent electric motor without, losing its soul? It's a showdown between 100 years of history and what feels like an inevitable future.
Okay, so before we jump into the future, we have to get a handle on the present. And this number, this is the whole key, 28%. That was Ferrari's operating profit margin for 2024. Now, to give you some perspective on that, most car companies, they're thrilled if they hit 8%. So this isn't just a successful company, it's a financial fortress, and it's built on a completely unique business model. So how on earth do they pull that off? Well, that brings us right to our first section. We've got to understand the absolute beast that is the Ferrari money machine. Seriously, it plays by a totally different set of rules than pretty much any other car maker on the planet. And look, this is the most important thing to get your head around. If you think of Ferrari like Ford or Toyota, you're making a mistake. It's way better to think of them like Hermes or Rolex. See, they're not selling you a way to get from point A to point B. They're selling you exclusivity. They're selling status. They're selling a piece of a legend. The car itself is just the gorgeous package that the brand comes in.
And the numbers from 2024, they just tell the whole story. Revenue and profit absolutely shot up. And that EBITDA margin of almost 38%, that's a fancy way of talking about a company's operating profitability, and a number like that it's almost unheard of in manufacturing. This is the financial firepower they're bringing to this electric fight.
But listen, that kind of financial performance doesn't just happen by accident. Oh no. It is the result of a decades-long, super carefully crafted strategy, all about one thing: exclusivity. This is the secret sauce behind that prancing horse.
The whole strategy really comes down to this super interesting economic idea, the Veblen good. And seriously, this is the aha moment. A Veblen good is a fancy term for a luxury item where, get this, the demand actually goes up as the price goes up. It's backward, right? Ferrari has totally mastered this. They intentionally make fewer cars than people want, because the more expensive and the harder one is to get, the more people want it.
And when you see it side by side, wow, the result is a gap in profitability that is it's staggering. While regular car companies are fighting tooth and nail for these tiny little single-digit margins by selling millions of cars, Ferrari gets this massive return by selling just a few thousand. They're playing a completely different game.
Okay, but here's where the story takes a massive U-turn. For all of its incredible success, Ferrari hit a huge speed bump, an electric one. The very thing that made it so powerful, that beautiful internal combustion engine, is now the biggest question mark hanging over its future. So picture this. The first half of 2025 looks like business as usual. The results are fantastic, margins are through the roof. But then, late in the year, they roll out their big vision for the next decade. And the market? Well, it hated it. The stock just cratered. It was one of its worst days ever since becoming a public company.
Now this is super important. Investors weren't selling because Ferrari was doing badly. Not at all. They were selling because they were afraid of what was coming. They looked at Ferrari's plan for going electric and thought it was way too conservative, too slow. It just didn't have the kind of bold ambition they were expecting. So that crazy reaction from the market really forced everyone to zoom in on Ferrari's official game plan. How exactly is this company going to drive down this tricky road, trying to balance a century of engine-building history with the undeniable fact that the world is going electric?
Okay, so here are the big headline targets. They're aiming for revenues around 9 billion euros. They're going to keep pumping out new models. And here's the big one. Their first ever all-electric car, nicknamed the Electrica, is supposed to start arriving in late 2026. Now, on paper, these look like solid goals for any company. But for Ferrari, the devil was in the details of what kinds of cars they were planning to sell.
And here it is, folks. This is the chart that sent the stock into a nosedive. By 2030, Ferrari is only planning for 20% of its cars to be fully electric. Just 20%. At a time when you have competitors talking about going 80% electric or more, and whole countries are setting dates to ban gas engines, 20% looked less like a bold plan and more like they were dragging their feet. The market saw this as Ferrari flinching at the electric future.
So, with the stock tanking and investors getting nervous, Ferrari pulled out this huge number, a 3.5 billion euro share buyback program. So what is that? Well, it's basically the company using its own mountain of cash to buy its own stock from the market. It helps prop up the price, and it's a huge signal to Wall Street that they think their own stock is a bargain.
So you put all of this together, the mind-blowing profits, this whole Veblen good strategy, the stumble into the electric era, and then their big strategic response. And it leaves this legendary brand at a real crossroads. And you've got Wall Street and car lovers just fiercely debating what's going to happen next.
So here's how the big debate really breaks down. You got the bulls, the optimists, on one side. They say, look, the brand is untouchable. They can charge whatever they want, and their order books are full, so the money's guaranteed for years. Then you have the bears, the pessimists. They're worried that going electric could actually damage that legendary brand identity, and that because the stock is so expensive, any little mistake could cause another crash.
You know, there's this one quote from the analysis that just nails it perfectly. Trying to figure out Ferrari isn't simple. You have to analyze it as a car company, but also as a luxury brand, like a fashion house. And their futures are locked together in this way that's just totally unique in the business world.
And that brings us right back to where we started. So what is it? Is Ferrari, this high-octane investment, ready to use its incredible brand power to navigate whatever comes next? Or is it a legendary brand just running on the fumes of a bygone era, about to get left in the dust? The race to 2030 is on, and for Ferrari, believe me, the stakes have never been higher.